War Report family, it is your boy C-Dub. It is game 6 pregame, Auburn versus Georgia. Let's get into it.
Pregame, halftime, and post the whole time the chat live. We around our folks, but we gon' keep the chat tight, keeping out trolls. That's why you gotta get your green name on, your pregame on, cause ain't nobody doing it better, reviewing it better, building rapport so you in tune with the players, with some quick prize picks so you can scoop you some cheddar. Get your mug or your shirt with the letters. Game time.
War Eagle, War Report family. Now, I know, look, your boy Mike G usually does this, but we're going to bring you the Prize Picks pregame show, and it's going to be me because Mike G's taking a little time off this morning. You know what I'm saying? All right, so here's what we're going to do. You go to prizepicks.com, you use code REPORT, that's RAPPORT, and that gets you 100% match for your very first deposit. So you go there, prizepicks.com, you make yourself an account, use code REPORT, and that gives you your match. So what are we going to bet on? We got most of our intel on Auburn versus Georgia, so that's where we're going to go. You know what? I'm going to scroll on down. They got nothing but QBs to start with when you come to college football, and I'm not against that because there's somebody I think is going to at least put up the numbers they're predicting today, and that person is... C will call him my boy, and I will take that just this time. Spencer Rattler, 200.5 yards passing. We're going to take more or less. We'll get to that in a second. I'm going to go over here and look up Auburn so we can see some of our players. Now, rush plus reception yards. So this is overall offensive output for Tank from scrimmage, more than 55.5. Yes, I like that. You tell me Tank can't get 60 combined running and passing? Yeah, he can get that. Oh, excuse me, running and receiving. So I like that, and I also like Javarius Johnson. All the stats say he's one of the best deep ball catchers in the conference. So, of course, I'm going to take him here. Us giving them our best shot, I think Javarius Johnson is going to be a part of that. So we got all three of those propositions up there. I think Spencer Rattler gets more than 200, not because Kentucky is a leaky pass offense, but they'll probably be trying to play catch up. And whenever he does that, he has a great day numbers-wise. So, sure, let's give him that. I think more for Tank, and I think more for Javarius. At least 45 yards receiving for Javarius Johnson. We're going to take all that. Let's put a smooth 10 on it, not get too crazy. And you know what? I like it. That's our bet. We're going to bring C-Dub in here, and he's going to pilot the ship so we can talk about what we got going, baby. What's up, baby? It's game day.
Man, listen, how you feeling, bro? How you feeling about this? Auburn, first road test, and it's a big one. It's a doozy. It's in Athens against Georgia for the Deep South's oldest rivalry. The point spread, very disrespectful. But how are you feeling 30 minutes before kickoff, man?
I'm feeling real good about that point spread. I'm feeling real good in general. You know why? Because I'm covering like hell on the early morning slate so far. Everything is looking good for me. This is the bettor's paradise. First third of the day, everything is looking complete. So I might be happier than I'm going to be looking later as we play Georgia and some of those bets start failing. But right now I'm feeling good because Auburn to cover is one of my bets. That is a very disrespectful spread, like you said, especially when it's not like Georgia's been killing people. They've been struggling too. So yeah, why not? Why can't we sneak in there and get that cover? For sure. I
agree with that. I agree with that. You think part of the spread has to do with just kind of how lopsided this rivalry has been over the past few years?
Yeah, I mean, it's the national champion spread bump. They're gonna get a wide, super wide margin because all the casual bettors who know Georgia just won and they're number one overall are going to come in and bet their money on Georgia no matter what, but they would have lost money the last 2 weeks because they didn't cover against Kent State. They didn't cover against Mizzou. So people will keep betting Georgia until Georgia loses. So that's part of it. Part of it is how bad we've looked turning the ball over and how the name recognition from Georgia. That's what it's mostly about.
So before we get into what we expect from our team, let's kind of talk some headlines going into this game. Kirby Smart was very complimentary about some of our skill players, namely Robbie Ashford and Tank Bigsby. He talked about how Robbie Ashford has shown the ability to stretch plays. Also, he's always been impressed with Tank's ability. No shock there. Tank is a very impressive athlete and player. Based on that, how do you anticipate Kirby Smart and Georgia actually defending Auburn's offense? And then again, we put a little bit on tape last week against LSU, but there's been some hints to some things from Mike G, according to the conversation he's had with the program, that There's a few more wrinkles and some things coming this weekend. So what do you think Georgia does to slow down Auburn or actually stop Auburn?
Well, the advantage to showing just something last week against LSU, because of course we're trying to win that game, but also we showed just enough for them to have to prepare for something different. And now we can throw some curveballs because they've been preparing for what we showed them 1 week ago. But that's not a lot. We've only been running this new principal system for a week. So that's a lot left that we haven't done. And that still gives us the element of surprise. So we've got an opportunity here. And I expect us to take full advantage of that opportunity and at least dial up some offense early. Whether or not we can dial it up after half, whole nother story.
Yeah. I expect him to definitely want to shut down our run game for sure. I think that was helped by some comments made by Brandon Council. We had a friend of the show on earlier this week, and he was saying that Georgia is well aware of Brandon Council's comments. And so, we mentioned that Georgia didn't need a whole lot of motivation, but I'm pretty sure that may have given them the juice that they didn't need against our O-line. But we saw signs of life with our O-line last week based on how the coaching staff was scheming together some plays. What is your expectation on the battle between our O-line versus their defensive front? They also have some guys out along the defensive front as well. So your thoughts about how critical this matchup is going to be?
Well, I'm sure that Georgia defensive front had some things to look in the mirror after their performances against Kent State and following up with Mizzou. We saw Mizzou give them trouble. We heard Paul Maharry say, listen, you can give them trouble. Mizzou tried to keep them hurried up, and it almost worked, but you've got to be able to move the ball and gain first downs if that's going to work. Do I think that Brian Harsin and company come in with some new plays, ways to keep the defense on the field, hurry up? Yes, they'll try it. Can we execute it? That's really the question. But I think we've got just enough of that to make this an interesting game. Now, I am not happy that Brandon Council said that, because I don't think that the professionals, the all-time great defense from last year, needed extra motivation. But a team that's been shaky, that's playing their SEC home opener, that's the team that has the talent already. Georgia has the talent that may not have quite had the motivation, and he may have just given them that. I hope I'm wrong about that, but once teams settle in, by the second quarter, the game is just the game. That motivation only lasts for a little bit until everybody gets some hitting going and kind of gets out their system. But who knows, man? I'm hoping we can stun them, surprise them, keep that stadium nice and quiet, put some points up early, and continue to move the ball and get that defense gashed. I would love to see it. It's not that he's wrong. He saw the same plan that could work that Paul Maharry told us could work. It's just, can we execute it?
Indeed. Let's get to some supers here. Cleveland Brown, appreciate you, man. He says, I'm still hyped for this game despite the spread. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I'm hyped for it too. I'm curious to see how we look on the road against them. We looked actually pretty good on the road last year in our first road contest at Penn State and Happy Valley. We didn't look shook by the crowd. This is a different team, so I'm curious to see how they look on the road. But I was impressed by how composed we looked on the road last year. I expect that to be more of the same today. It's just a matter of, can we execute, to your point, B. Imani Smoot says Auburn versus Tennessee in the SEC championship game. Forget Georgia.
Okay.
By that, I'm assuming he's predicting an Auburn win today. That puts Georgia behind the 8 ball. Yeah, Tennessee's looking good though.
I am never going to downplay your enthusiasm, Imani. I receive it and I believe it a little bit, not that much, y'all.
Hey man, listen, let him be an optimist, man. I appreciate Imani for that. Keeps me from going off the deep end. SS Austin says, y'all remember Venables dissing Auburn? Oof, they getting skull drug right now, B.
They are getting skull drug. Venables is paying for the sins of last year, partially because OU came back against Texas in a dramatic way and embarrassed Texas. And some of this is that, but some of this is Oklahoma was a terrible defensive team before Lincoln Riley left. So the cupboard was quite literally bare. Lincoln Riley took all the good offensive talent with him, and he had to start over. And this quarterback who was playing decent got hurt. He didn't have a prayer in this game, and this has nothing to do with who Venables is as a coach. Similar to our situation. I'm not going to make any judgment about a team in year one under a coach Give them till year 3, then I'll see who Venables is. But it does not look good right now. You are correct.
So getting back to our game, let's talk offense, B. What are some things that you're looking forward to seeing, and what's going to help Auburn? I didn't get any numbers together prior to this, but Auburn has not fared well on the road in terms of offensive production in Athens.
Yeah.
What can Auburn do in this game to actually change history as it pertains to our offensive output on the road in Athens?
They just got to take care of the ball. And that's pretty much the entirety of it. And in years past, it wasn't that we were turning the ball over just so much. It was more that we were just getting stifled completely. That was one person who never really seemed to have trouble with Gus's offense was Kirby. Kirby never had, not at Georgia. We never did anything against Georgia at Georgia. We had the one really, really good game against them in 2017. And of course, the game that we probably, the only truly lucky game of the 2013 season, which was Georgia in the Prairie and Jordan Hare. But we don't have much for Georgia when we go there. So for this to look different, we're going to have to not turn the ball over, because as we've seen, we can move the ball. We were moving the ball up and down the field with TJ Finley. We can't turn the ball over and keep ourselves in a game. We have got to protect the ball. We've got to turn Georgia over a couple of times, because they've given it up a couple of times in both of the games where they struggled, both Kent State and Mizzou. That's our chance. Total. Yeah, 5 times total in 2 games. Those are some Auburn numbers. So if we fix it and they don't, we got a chance in this game for sure.
I was very impressed with our passing offense, and I think that's what allowed us to jump out in front of LSU early in the game last week. That was very encouraging going into this game. What do you expect to see more in the passing game? For me, I expect to see them play to Robbie Ashford's strengths, see some more rollouts with him. Georgia has to be anticipating that. So what do you expect to be as the counterpunch against what Georgia does, especially when you get into the second half? Because, again, that's been a bugaboo with the Auburn offense, is that we're not scoring in the second half. When we come out at halftime, after halftime, we pretty much go into the tank offensively. What do you expect Auburn to have to do in order to anticipate Georgia taking away some things offensively?
You know, I think we've got enough of surprise on our side to generate, I think, like we said, a couple of shock points early. Maybe we get up 7-0, maybe we can get up 10-7 at the half or something like that. I don't think we're going to just go crazy against Georgia, because they still got the talent to hold us down. But what we will do second half against them, it is anybody's guess. I think it was confirmed, and I said this on the show, that Zach Hill was actually working with the staff remotely as a consultant on this offense to try to get some things installed that make sense for our personnel. That's the benefit of that, is you have a fresh mind and some fresh eyes in here to do things that this coaching staff up to date has not done yet. So he would have ideas for this staff that we have not necessarily put on tape. Maybe some of last week was him, and that wasn't even all of the stuff he's got designed for us. So it's going to have to be something brand new, but mostly we're going to have to execute. We had some opportunities last week in that game. The throws that were there, Robbie was just a little off, and it makes a difference. So we're not converting. We're not keeping the ball and possessing it and driving it down the field. Once they kind of adjusted to what we did, it's not that the opportunities were gone. It's that we weren't good enough to execute in really small windows. And that has to be a difference going forward. I think our team will get there. Will it get there in 1 week? A showing from LSU to Georgia being complete turnaround? Maybe not, but we'll get there. I'm hoping this can be the start of it, because if we do that, we're going to be in this game.
Guys, you are watching the Game 6 Auburn versus Georgia pregame, brought to you by show sponsor Prize Picks. Guys, remember to use code RAPPORT for 100% match, guys. Shout out to them for supporting our show. Guys, also, if you're watching, you're able to comment now, but if you're don't have a green name, if you're not a member of the War Rapport, you won't be able to join in on our discussion during our halftime and post-game show. So how do you become a member? $5.99 a month will get you there at a patron level. Not only do you have the ability to come in and vent, cheer, whatever in a troll-free environment for today, but you also get access to amazing behind-the-wall content. Guys, we have interviews we've done with current players, former players, current coaches, even the head coach, Brian Harsin. A lot of these conversations and talks, especially film review, are behind our membership paywall. Definitely want to get $5.99 a month. We'll get you there. Guys, go ahead and do that so you can join in on the discussion and join our community, especially on game day. We have an amazing game day environment, game day show planned for you guys. So definitely do just that. All right, B, let's get back into it. Let's talk about some of these comments. Chase asks, shout out to you, Chase. How many points do you expect Auburn to score in the second half?
Well, anything's an improvement, right? I mean, I expect us to score at least 3 points.
At least 3 points,
which is an improvement.
That's rough.
It is, man. I mean, it's hard to get too hyped up about what we can do in the second half because we literally have not done much in the second half since October of last year. So it's really hard to jump out there. But do I think we see improvement? Yes, I think we see improvement. But I also think we are going to be seeing the most talented defense that we faced so far. And one that is trying to get off the snide. I mean, Georgia doesn't want to keep playing people all close. So they should have plenty of motivation anyway without Brandon Council comments or not. So I think we show improvement as far as how well we move the ball. We don't turn the ball over as much, but that may not translate to touchdowns and a lot of points. So I'm going to say 3 to 10 points at the most second half, which would be an improvement. Any point second half would be an improvement. So I say 3 to 10. 10 is being optimistic.
Well, I don't have any shades. Mike G isn't here, so I'm a sunshine pump on his behalf. I say we score 10 in the second half.
Okay.
Like, we were moving the ball very well in the second half. Now, keep in mind, we turned the ball over a good bit against LSU. We were moving the ball. We were showing signs of life. It wasn't a punt off last week against LSU. We were moving the ball. We just made key mistakes at key times that killed drives. We got behind the chains. We end up having to punt the ball at times. We put the ball on the ground at times. So we did a lot of things, even when there was some momentum, to kill those opportunities that we had to put points on the board. We also decided to go for it on fourth at times when we could have gotten some points. So that you have to keep in mind that if Auburn cleans up some of those mistakes, they've had a week to do that. And we're in some situations where we're making better decisions in key critical moments as a coaching staff. I like our chances to put some points on the board in the second half because we are showing signs of life. So I'm going to go 10 points, being optimistic, but I'm going to give us 10 points. We're definitely going to need it if we want to make this a game, especially when we don't want to feel just down about what happened in the game. I'm going with 10. I'm with you. Joe Cowell says, I think the last time Auburn scored more than 10 points in Athens was 2009. I think you're correct. The score was 24-31. Auburn scored 24 on the road in that game. So Auburn's that's been a long time, B. So
that's a long time, man.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that they're not even the better program. They're not the best one when it comes to who we have to face regularly, but we struggle the most against Georgia. That's wild.
Yeah. It's the weirdest thing. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. Let's talk about defense. What are we expecting? One of the things that has happened with Georgia over the past couple of weeks is that a lot of teams have lined up to stop the run, and as Paul Maharry said, they haven't had a running back step up and be the guy. They're still kind of rotating in running backs, doing a running back by committee. This is an opportunity for Auburn to basically make Stetson Bennett beat them. What has happened in the past is that Stetson Bennett, all he has to do is manage the game. An amazing Georgia defense will give them plenty enough opportunities for them to move the ball, put points on the board. Georgia's defense is still good, but I think a lot more is being asked of Stetson Bennett this year in order for them to be able to be a contender and repeat. He has to kind of take his game forward. And I think if I'm Auburn, I'm making Stetson Bennett beat me. He's not going to get a lot of help from the running backs. He's not going to get a lot of help. I mean, the tight ends are the tight ends. They're probably going to eat today, but you're not going to run the ball down our throats. I think that should be the game plan if I'm Auburn, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, that's got to be the game plan, is that we've got to make them throw on us to beat us. Now, the problem is that he's not Jaden Daniels. He's not some inaccurate quarterback who you can just completely shut him down and shut the receivers down. he's actually got the wherewithal to keep playing if he's struggling and eventually hit that pass that lets his team keep moving down the field. So yeah, you can get him, you can sack him, you can chase him around and keep him unproductive for a little while, but eventually, if our offense can't score enough points to put them in a position where they just have to pass it, if we're still getting balanced looks and we have to decide between defending, run, and pass, then play action and we can get bitten, because we've had a little trouble on the back end from some different personnel, though. I mean, Pritchett has played better as the years have gone on, but DJ James, I think, is the one that we needed to see. He looks like a shutdown corner. Keontae Scott isn't quite shut down, but the athleticism, the ability to play the ball, I think that we have a better chance of controlling a UGA offense who doesn't have as much talent flying around out there this year on the outside as they had in years past. So McConkey's been shaky, fumbling the ball. Bowers actually think had a fumble or two in the last two games. Listen, I don't know if it's a championship hangover thing, but they're somewhat vulnerable. Now, you know they've got it in them because you saw them do it less than a year ago, but they're not just, I don't know, man. They're not invincible. We can put pressure on their run game with our defensive line if we continue to play like we've been playing. I think Kobe Wooden has a big day. Marcus Harris has a big day. And Derek Hall has a big day too. I don't know if Bragg or Brooks is going to be in there on the other side, but I'm hoping that they can start eating too. I think we can hold them in check. Is our offense going to do anything with it? That's the question.
Thoughts about the linebacker play. What are you expecting from the second level in this game particularly?
Ike is on site in Athens in the stadium, and he's telling us that Cam Riley is listed as a starter, that Papo and Riley are the starters. So we should, man, I mean, you're hoping the light comes on for Pap because it's not a physical issue. He knows how to be present. He's a physical freak. Can he be in the right place and get the guy down when it's time to do it? I don't know, man. I mean, I'm hoping so. Our defensive line should be able to eat well enough against their offensive line to give him those one-on-one opportunities where he can just fill a gap and get a guy down. But man, we need Pat, man. We can't just have the middle of the field be a complete question mark and compete in these games. Like, we can't. It's like the secondary is looking great. The defensive line starting to look great. We absolutely have to have somebody from the second level, step up and be consistent and be in the right gap. Cam Riley's back, so maybe he can be that guy. Steiner, he had some misses last game. Maybe this is it. Maybe Riley back out there hungry after missing that week. Maybe he can be that guy, and Pap doesn't have to be that guy this week.
I've been impressed with Cam, the little bit that we did see of him early in the season. So I'm hoping that he can pick up where he left off and put in a big game for us. Also, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We need to see a lot more out of Pap at this point. He's one of the leaders. He's the captain of the team. So he definitely led by example in the offseason, but the season is here, and now we need you to produce. Right. So we definitely need to see more out of him. Let's talk special teams real quick. Another grunt from B. Yeah. Usually special teams, when you're not talking about them, that means they're not doing anything bad, right? For the most part. Now, we're going to be talking about special teams because they become especially important on the road, especially in this environment. It looks like Harsin and company are going to stick beside Honors Carlson. He's still going to be the guy. What are we expecting to see out of him? Because I don't see how we play 60 minutes and we're not in a situation where we have to kick a field goal.
We better be scoring a lot of touchdowns in, man. I don't know. Like, that's all we can hope, is that all he gets is extra points and it's a 28 to something game or a 21 to something game, because if we have to get Carlson out there for anything longer than like a 37-yarder, it's a complete question mark. And that may not even be the extent of his range anymore. As far as he's not accurate from that range. He's got leg, but he's not accurate. So we know that they aren't going to throw players under the bus. They're going to say that they believe in these players, but there's no way you can look at his track record through the season to this point and say, yes, we absolutely believe in you. The numbers say you are more likely to miss it than make it at this point. If they are not going to switch Anders Carlson out, then I guess we see a whole bunch of going for it on fourth downs again, throw caution to the wind. What do you have to lose at this point? You picked to lose this game. You're expected to lose it. If you have any chance of shocking the world, maybe you need to be going forward on fourth downs. But I'm with you. I don't believe that we kick poorly and win this game. It's not possible. If we're going to pull in any type of upset or even keep it really close, we've got to be hitting on all cylinders, because we are not yet well run enough as a team. We're not fluid enough to be able to go in here and leave some points on the board or a drive and still win this game. We're not that good. We have to just no misses, no turnovers, no missed kicks. And I just hope they're close. That's all I'm going to say. I hope they're close.
So 3 important keys I'm hearing as we've been talking. Auburn's pass offense, because based on Kirby Smart's comments, they're looking for Tank.
Yeah.
Anytime Tank is on the field, they're keying on him. So our pass offense has to be important, which means Robbie Ashford has to be sharp, protect the football. Defense, I'm hearing linebacker play has to be important, and especially with the tight ends that Auburn's matched up with, the linebacker play is going to be very important. And special teams, kicking. Do we expect anything from punt return? We did have a key fumble, muff punt last week. What do we expect out of Keontae Scott? Anything?
I think he's going to be challenged to go out there and play a better game. He looks like one of those guys who doesn't get down on himself for errors. It's like he wants to go out there and improve and make a better play and be that guy because he has that type of confidence. So I don't expect it to be an issue. It's kind of once it's been an issue, I expect it to be corrected the next week for a lot of guys. With something like quarterback, you're still learning. With something like linebacker, that's a developmental position as well. And the same thing with offensive line. Troxel has some problems at right tackle. I don't expect it to be, well, I didn't play enough last week. Now I'm going to go out here and play lights out. Well, no, you still are seeing some of the best athletes in college football at your position. So you might still struggle. But yes, we can improve. We can improve marginally in what we've done in most positions, and it should make a difference.
Does Harsin and company get cute today with some trick plays?
Ooh-wee. I was on the opposite side of y'all. I thought that you call trick plays if they're there. You see some open field, people can't mess up. I think we're still just killing ourselves with execution. I don't think it's necessarily that there was a bad time to call the play or even a bad play, but I know that they I know, and I disagree. I know that we need to keep them off balance, and our best shot at staying in this game is not only, whatever we got scripted up that breaks our tendencies, but also breaking those tendencies once we get out of our script. And second half is probably a place to do that. Do you trust your guys to do it? That's really what it comes down to.
I'll put it this way. I don't want to see trick plays if we're behind the chains. You can't really, your best bet is to trick a team when you're ahead of the chains, when you're ahead of schedule and your playbook is wide open. Real quick, before we get out of here, prediction time, final score. I'm going here. I actually think that Auburn scores a good bit in this game. I actually do. I think it's going to be, I think they score more than what people are expecting and more than what we've done in the past. I think Auburn gets to at least 17 points. I'm going to go 17-30 Georgia, though. But we show signs of life in this game offensively, which is something positive and something that you can build on moving forward.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm going Auburn 17 to Georgia 28.
Okay.
No, you know what? That's 4 touchdowns, and they're going to kick some field goals. So let me amend that. Auburn 17, Georgia 30. I like that. That's a good score. That means they kick 3 field goals at least. Yeah, that's a good place to be. I like it right there.
Don't like the outcome, but again, 17 on the road with the way our offense has been playing versus Georgia's defense. You can take some things with that and build on in the future weeks. We'll wait and see what happens, guys. This pregame show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Definitely use code REPORT, guys, for them to match you 100% on your picks. And guys, we'll see what happens. Enjoy the game. I'm out. Me and B Will are out. We will see you at the half. War Eagle.
War Eagle.